does this all relate to what we're seeing right now with Bari Weiss? She's been appointed to run CBS, and you tease that you will be coming out with a larger piece on this news. Can you give us a hint into what you'll be saying?
Sure. So the Powell memo comes out in 1971. It's circulated among the Chamber of Commerce and the like. And one of the things in the Powell memo is urging corporations and billionaires essentially to invest specifically in media. Now, media corporations at the time could have used their power and their journalists essentially to expose the Powell memo and the plot that came out of it. Instead, what a number of media corporations did was actually join the movement explicitly. Now, that sounds like something out of fiction, right? It sounds like I'm making that up. What we uncovered is, you can see, members of the Powell Memo Task Force include top executives at some of the largest media corporations in America in the early 1970s. We're talking about executives at ABC. We're talking about the president of CBS. We found a letter in which the president of CBS, almost 50 years, exactly 51 years before Bari Weiss is installed at CBS News, you have a letter from the president of CBS in correspondence with a university president, conservative university president, saying, the Powell memo essentially is essential. I completely agree with all of it. And I am working to correct the situation at CBS News. And the situation he's talking about is this idea that the media at that point, this was the idea among sort of conservatives, that the media was too aggressive in holding corporations and power accountable. The guy who had freaked them out, I mean, Lewis Powell specifically, was completely freaked out by Ralph Nader. Lewis Powell references Nader in his writing. He was totally freaked out about Ralph Nader. And so the point is that 51 years ago, you have the heads of some of the biggest media outlets participating in a movement that is in part about trying to make the media more compliant with corporate America. And we found the minutes of this secret meeting, another secret meeting, in which they're reviewing what they're doing, how they're using the media. They're talking about they're funding a motion picture, which later they funded a film with Jimmy Stewart. They're talking about radio actualities. They're talking about producing newspaper columns and the like. I mean, it sounds kind of old-fashioned in the pre-internet era, but the point is they were really focused on media. And we also found one other thing you'll find fascinating. We found this document about Roger Ailes. Roger Ailes is attending some of these Powell memo organizing meetings. And one observer, the same university president I mentioned, he's talking about how Ailes gave a presentation reminding corporate executives in the room that they are advertisers to media outlets. And essentially, they should use their power as advertisers to pressure those media organizations to make different news coverage decisions. Roger Ailes, soon after, gets appointed to run a Fox News forerunner called TVN, funded by Joseph Coors, who in audio that we found, that's never been aired before, says that he was stirred into a political activism by the Powell memo specifically. So Ailes is installed as the head of a forerunner to Fox News, having no real experience in television news or running a television newsroom at all. He gets installed, and somebody who is at that company tells the Columbia Journalism Review, essentially the Coors family hired Roger Ailes because he's a Republican, not because he's a newsman. They don't want a newsman. So I guess all of this is a reminder that the conservative movement has been focused on turning media and journalism into a political weapon. And of course, not to elide everything, but from this comes everything from Ronald Reagan ending the Fairness Doctrine to Bill Clinton and the Republicans joining together to sign the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which deregulates the media industry and allows for massive consolidation. George Bush also weakens local media ownership rules. All of this serves to consolidate the media, which, of course, a consolidated media is one that is much easier to use to control the debate, right? Like if you think about censorship, if you think about, everything from the Jimmy Kimmel thing to the Stephen Colbert thing, if all you have to do is flip one or two algorithmic switches, and all you have to do is tell the top of a huge monopoly or an oligopoly, get these people off, you can completely limit and narrow the political debate because there aren't nearly as many competitors with audiences at scale.
So what I'm hearing from you here is that the Coors family is not just responsible for delicious light beer.
That is true, and I'm talking to you from Denver, Colorado, where their movement started.
Returning to the issue of Bari Weiss, I wanted to quote something that she said, and you've covered this before. This is from a Federalist Society meeting. And she said,
"I am a gay woman who is moderately pro-choice. I know that there are some people in this room who don't believe that my marriage should have been legal. And that's okay, because we're all Americans who want lower taxes."
So that is an incredible confession. What's your response to this?
So at one level, she's joking, right? And the whole room erupts and laughs. But the humor in the joke, it's one of those jokes where it's funny because she's saying the quiet part out loud, right, that everyone knows to be true, but is only usually communicated as a wink and nod. It's a reminder that what holds the conservative movement together, that for all of the culture war issues, that frankly, Bari Weiss is mostly focused on, that for all those culture war issues, what ties them together is oligarch economics. And she's, tax cuts for the wealthy as the one she holds up. And I think it's a very revealing comment because what it says to me, what it insinuates is, look, we the conservative movement, use the culture war as a kind of shiny distraction from what we're really organized around, which is serving the class and economic interests of the very wealthy. And if you look at the Free Press as an example, Bari Weiss's Substack that just sold for reportedly $150 million, the Free Press embodies this. The Free Press is all culture war all the time, which serves as a distraction from the economic class war. So not surprisingly, lots of oligarchs are interested in investing in this, promoting it, amplifying it, and now bringing it right into the heart of so-called mainstream media at CBS News, right? Like the more, it's the old what's the matter with Kansas thing, right? Like the bread and circuses. The more we can focus the country's discourse on the culture war, the less, at least the theory is, the less people will focus on the economic class war. And I think that comment from Bari Weiss is, the joke of it is, what's funny about it is that everyone in that room in the Federalist Society knows that's true. That's what's funny about it. Like, she actually just came out and said it. And I'm glad she did, in the sense of, okay, we're acknowledging what this whole ruse on the right is really all about.
And it's in some ways the right-wing corollary to one of my favorite lines to come out of the mouth of Hillary Clinton, which is referring to Bernie Sanders' economic agenda, of course, saying, well, breaking up the banks and racism, no. Will it end sexism? No, right? It's the same thing, where they're also using culture wars from the other side to kind of kneecap economic populism.
That's absolutely right. Both parties do this in their own specific ways. The donors to both parties want the discussion to be about anything and everything other than how those donors are immiserating the American people, economically immiserating the American people. I mean, that is as old as time. Certainly there was a break from it, I think, in some ways during the New Deal when you had an actual New Deal coalition. But the norm is for both parties to desperately try to help their donors avoid a discussion of how those donors are fleecing the rest of us. I mean, I put it this way when I think about the Democrats. What is the Democrats' sort of consensus agenda? Well, the way to figure that out is you take what voters want in one circle in your Venn diagram. You take what the donors want or will tolerate. And let's underscore will tolerate. And the overlap, a very narrow overlap, is what the Democratic agenda typically is, right? Like rich people, oligarchs, corporations, they're not financially threatened by discussions of identity. They're not financially threatened by a fight for reproductive rights. They're not financially threatened by all sorts of culture war issues. And to be clear, I'm not saying the fight for reproductive rights is not important. I'm not saying the fight for basic civil rights is not important. I'm only saying that the reason those fights are so central, so elevated and amplified in our politics by both sides is because the donors want that. That's what the donors want us talking about.